What's up guys, welcome to Daily Dose of Reddit. This is your host, Zach, and today's subreddit is r/MaliciousCompliance. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell to never miss an episode. This story is called The Delayed Prestigious Event. I post this here, although it is, content-wise, somewhere between r/MaliciousCompliance and r/ProRevenge. This story dates a couple of years back and is set in Germany. Obviously, the names have been changed to not bully anyone. Also, this is a secondary account, so it won't come back to haunt me. I am not a native English speaker, so I am sorry for any grammar errors or weird wording. The protagonist. There's me, IT worker in a medium-sized company. Lars, my direct boss. Not an IT person, but a great guy all around. Manages technical backend. Karen from HR. A stickler to the rules and a true bureaucrat at heart. Lara, event organizer. Tasked to make this event go as smooth as possible. Michael, COO of the company. Only met him when this happened, usually in the head office. The environment. This story is set inside a medium-sized company in Germany. We are not a top technical company, but have many international customers. I am responsible for the in-house IT services at the small town site, with the site manager, Lars, being my direct boss. This site only has a secretary, and HR is managed by the central head office. As I work in IT, working time is usually handled lenient. You can work on any workday between 7 a.m. to 8 p.m., just not more than 12 hours a day, and you have to get your 40 hours in every week, with some overflow allowed. But you are not allowed to work outside these hours or on weekends unless you get a written permit from a central HR board. The first incident. You all know that when something happens in IT, you sometimes have to react. So the day comes and I get a call on a weekend that a important system has gone down. I realize that it is no big deal, so I cancel my plans and go in on a Saturday evening, nothing fancy planned. The whole problem is rather easy to fix. I switch to the reserve server, load config files, reload the backups, and everything is back up and running in 2 hours. The following week, I have to do it all again because the spare hardware used in a pinch was not powerful enough. The fallout. So during the next week, the crap really starts to hit the fan. First, I get some bullcrap from the supply office for using the spare server. It is supposed to be always in reserve if a core system goes down, which just happened on the weekend, and the person using it has to immediately order a replacement. I told them I couldn't do that because none of these guys were there when it was urgently needed, and the replacement order was with him on Monday. We talk a bit workshop and he laughs it off, telling me he had to remark it because of official guidelines and to be more careful next time. Next is HR. I got the notice from Karen that the Saturday repair was not covered by any written permit that I should have gotten at least a week ahead of time. She doesn't understand a thing about IT, but tells me that I always need to have a written permit or it will have direct consequences. I will not get paid for that time, and I'm even getting pointed for being in when I am not allowed to. It even goes so far that if this happens again, my contract is in danger. I get all this in writing. Important later. From now on, I always check my times there, but luckily, the next 3 months, no important system goes down at the weekend. The setup. Our company is hosting a big event at a nice local location, a week long. From 8 a.m. Monday till Friday, international meetings with 90% external guests and lots of prestige. There's a small team in company set up and managed by the event organizer Lara. I am informed by my boss Lars that I need to set up IT. We go to the location and find out that there is only a closed network available, so we have to provide our own IT. I order the necessary access points to provide Wi-Fi networks, a decent projector, etc. Nice to work with a great budget. It all arrives 2 weeks before the conference. In the week before the conference, I start setting up. Monday, I configure the access points and make sure all the hardware is fully operational. Tuesday, I arrive on the event location and find it occupied. Asking my event liaison, I find out the location is booked only for the following week. So I spend half a day tracking down the person responsible for the venue and get told it is booked till Friday midday. I go to my boss Lars and tell him that I can't set up because it is occupied. He is furious about this oversight but accepts that it is not my business to make sure the venue is booked correctly. The whole matter is escalated, and by the end of the day, we get the permit to start setting up on Friday afternoon. Wednesday comes, and I tell my boss Lars that half a day won't be enough to set up projectors, recording and streaming, sign-in stations, and the Wi-Fi. I told him that I expected it to be 4 days of work, but that I am willing to work through the weekend to get at least all the important stuff done till Monday. He agrees, and I file for the special permit to work overtime or on the weekend. He even attaches a note on how important this is, and it is rushed to HR. I spend the rest of the day going through the network planning, going home a bit early knowing that the next day will be stressful. Thursday, I start to prep as good as I can, configure every firmware, do a dry run of the setup on my desk, make sure all the cables are available and boxed up in a nice set for each task. This at least should be saving a bit of time when setting up. Friday morning, I still haven't received my written permit from HR yet, so I decided to give them a call. After a while, I get a hold of the Karen responsible for my file there, and she informs me that my application for overtime arrived after this week's HR board meeting and thus couldn't be granted. Condescendingly, she informs me that I should have applied at least a week earlier. I go to the event organizer Lara and tell her that I didn't get the permit for overtime and that I will have to leave everything this evening unfinished. I can see the color of her face changing from normal to white to red, and she promises to follow up. She will contact HR directly and clarify things. At 2 in the afternoon, the venue is finally available, and I get started. Most reasonable is to get started with the projector and presentation system, because, without presentations, there's no event. It takes me about 3 hours to set it up, running cables so they are not a hazard, etc., so the presenters can use either the system or a laptop and the picture is okay. Then Lara comes by and asks how I'm doing. We chat a bit as I introduce the system. She tells me that Karen handling my application is not in this afternoon, so there is still no written permit. After we decide to run the main fiber line for internet, next she is off organizing something for the breaks and catering. I run the fiber for the internet and at least confirm that it is active at 7 p.m. I catch Lara again and ask her about the permit. No one in HR was in all Friday afternoon, so it is still not there. The compliance revenge. Here comes my r/MaliciousCompliance and r/ProRevenge into place. I lock away all the valuable hardware as custom and am ready to leave just before the 8 o'clock deadline. Lara asks me what the next steps will be and when it will be ready, and I have to tell her. I will start again on Monday, but it won't be finished by 8 a.m. That's when the event starts. She is speechless as I leave. During my weekends, I relax and turn my work phone off. I see a flood of work emails coming in, but hey, if I'm not allowed to work on the weekends, I also don't need to check these. The event. Monday, 7 a.m. The earliest I'm allowed to work again according to HR. I show up. It is pandemonium. IT is still the same as I left it on Friday. A completely disarranged Lara asked me, begging me how long it takes to set up the sign-in station because the first guest will arrive in half an hour and need to be registered. I get to work setting it up as fast as I can, but it still takes till nearly 9 a.m. till all the credentials are loaded and the digital sign-in can start. All the while, I hear mumbling that the Wi-Fi isn't working. No surprise, the access points are not installed at all, not even the wires run. Lara clearly organized a second breakfast for the waiting guests and excuses all the time for the technical difficulties. At 9 a.m., the event can finally start. There is still no Wi-Fi, there is no internet for the online presentations, and there is no streaming. I can't continue to set up since this would mean me running around with a ladder during the introductory presentation. So I also grab a second breakfast and wait. Shortly before the delayed 10:30 coffee break, Laura, Lars, and even the COO Michael come up to me and ask me what is the holdup. Michael is enraged that this state is embarrassing the whole company in front of all their international partners. No Wi-Fi for them and no stream online for the overseas partners. I tell him that Karen explicitly forbade me to work on weekends without the written permit and even show the write-up from earlier. See the fallout. Giving up, he just asks what I need to get it all done as fast as possible. I even get a small note just saying Mr. OP is permitted to work as much overtime as needed and is permitted to acquire all resources he deems necessary. Signed Michael, COO, and co-signed by the head of HR. The solution. We end up hiring some Sparkies, electricians, to run the cables, and I work all night till nearly the next morning to get it all operational by the second day. The rest of the event was a full success, and everyone was happy with the IT besides the first day. As the cherry on top, Karen is no longer my HR manager. I also have the direct phone number, even private mobile, to the local head of HR and can request overtime in a non-written form at any time. Sometimes it pays to play exactly by the rules, even if they make no sense. Oh my gosh, we can't have Karens in HR. The point of HR is to defy the Karens. HR is supposed to be on your side. I mean, I don't know. I've never really had an HR, really. So is that what they typically are supposed to be? Like, hey man, we're on your side employees, we'll protect you. Or is that a union? They both do that, right? I don't know how work works, man. This story's called Violate My 2 weeks conditions and then tell me to just work? This happened about 3 or 4 years ago. I worked for a big grocery store chain as a front-end cashier. I had already had some problems with my company as they had promoted me to later rescind said promotion because of lack of training hours. One of my assistant managers had also been harassing me, giving me all of the nightly duties and favoring daily position assignments for her friends. Finally fed up, I turned in my 2 weeks notice. I take the 2 weeks notice extremely seriously. Remember, especially in corporations, you are extremely replaceable, to the point of a 2 weeks is to give your company time to conduct interviews, have labor for the written schedules, and fill your incoming vacancy. You are doing them a favor by not quitting on the spot. I submitted 2 separate 2-week notices. A formal one that didn't go into details and was meant as evidence of my resignation, and an informal one for my department manager explaining the poor treatment I experienced that led to my resignation. I specifically told her to not schedule me with the bully assistant manager. The first week goes with little problem. 2 days into the second week, I arrived for my shift to find that the bully assistant manager had been scheduled as my manager on duty. Fan-freaking-tastic. I seek out my department manager and question why she has violated my condition. She explains that she has spoken to my manager on duty in that, everything will be fine because I'm here, so just work, okay? When I return to my department to receive my position, I see that I'm scheduled on the self-checkout station. This is by far the best station because you don't have to scan or bag. You just help older people who struggle with the machines and check IDs for alcohol. Well, the bully assistant manager has commandeered my station because her knee is bothering her. I immediately smell BS, but say nothing as I head to my normal checkout lane. Well, surprise, surprise, an hour goes by and the bully's best friend has arrived for her shift. The bully's best friend's position was easily the self-checkout station because, again, it's easy, and she was even lazier than me. She also used the quiet moments to shop for her groceries. Time theft, anyone? Suddenly, the bully's knees is feeling 100% better. She hops off the self-checkout, sends her best friend to the station, and hops on a normal lane. I am seething. Cue malicious compliance. Grocery stores have peak times, usually around 4 to 6 p.m. when people are getting off work. Working on a register during these times can be crazy. But I was also one of the faster workers, so it's no sweat. My manager tells me to just work? Sure, I can work my ass off. I give every customer the friendliest customer service I can and work accurately but quickly. My lane moves 3 times faster than the other open lanes combined. And before I know it, the peak has ended. Once sticking around for another 10 minutes or so to confirm the peak has ended, I calmly shut down my register, clock out, and leave. 4 hours before my shift was supposed to end, and I don't come back. Because I was between high school and college at the time, I was one of the store's most important coverage workers. I worked almost any shift, usually during peak times, which meant that my manager had to scramble to fill every 8-hour peak shift she had given for the rest of that week. Edit. A lot of people asked why I didn't just quit on the spot. A few friends that I still have to this day were working with me that day. I wasn't going to abandon them during peak hour. Edit 2, it was not a minimum wage job. Well, first off, good on you for being responsible and caring about your coworkers, which is something that not a lot of people do. Oh my god, so much experience with flaky coworkers. If you're a flaky coworker, you're a jerk and you don't deserve to have a job, and I hope you are sad sometimes. This story is called, "You Want to Kick Me Out of My Hospital Workstation Room That I Prepped for the Day?" I am a radiology resident, and luckily the facility I am working at allows for each resident to be separated in individual workstation rooms for reading imaging. This morning, I grabbed one of the rooms, spent a while cleaning it all up to make it safe for me to spend the day in. Another resident, who showed up late, came in the door and demanded that I leave the room because it was assigned to him. I chose the room because I knew the dictation microphone didn't work, so all the reports would have to be typed, and I was on a rotation that was light on volume, so it wasn't a big deal to type the reports for me. He started to squeeze his way in and box me out, and because of his persistence, I let him. I packed all of my things and headed to a different room, got up, and headed out the door. Right before shutting the door, I told him, by the way, the dictation mic doesn't work in this room. As I sit here typing this, I am watching him read case after case, which he has to individually type. Meanwhile, I have spent the day studying and relaxing in my new, cleaned room. And no, the room was not assigned to him. I love stuff like this, where you pick something because you know you specifically can deal with one of its shortcomings, and then some jerkbag wants to take it just because you want it, and so then they aren't capable of handling said handicap, so they end up sucking at whatever it is that they were trying to do. That is some good stuff. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell to never miss an episode.